All right, folks, we are back, and we are joined by our friend Susan Ferrechio, Chief Congressional Correspondent at the Washington Examiner. Hello, Susan.
Hi, Steve.
Hi.
Good to be here.
Happy New Year to you, belatedly, of course. I guess we all, after this week, stop saying Happy New Year, right?
Yeah, I usually go about a couple weeks.
Yeah, that's about it. All right, so let's talk about this whole Christie thing and what the buzz is there in Washington. I know that Boehner weighed in by saying that Christie's still a legitimate presidential candidate, and I know that Lindsey Graham had some bizarre remark. First, he trashed Christie, and then he a little later on he backtracked and praised Christie. What was that one all about?
Yeah, it's hard to say. Lindsey Graham has been running for re-election. He's from the South. Christie's from New Jersey. They are different in many ways, but they have a lot of similarities, too, on some issues. Christie is he's not necessarily a polarizing figure within the GOP, certainly not. But there are people who feel he is, he's not the ideal representative of the party. And there are others who think he's their one shining hope for 2016. So you're getting a variety of input about him from Republicans. Some people think, this guy, they're still angry at him over the 2012 election and the big hug fest with Obama, and that really potentially hurt Mitt Romney just weeks leading up to the election. There are people who feel like he has backtracked on his conservatism, embracing some aspects of immigration reform and gay marriage. So he's not made everyone happy.
Yeah. By the way, Susan, you should know that I am now paying for discounted tuition for illegal kids in my home state of New Jersey, because apparently Chris Christie, who had said denied that he was ever against this so-called New Jersey Dream Act, he said he was just against it because we didn't have the money. But I guess now the implication is we're rolling in green. So I wish he would have lowered my property taxes and acted like a true conservative. But no, he decided that I'm going to pay for the discounted tuition of illegals. But go ahead.
Yes, that's exactly part of the controversy with Chris Christie, is that he, as his, and I think his ambition has evolved. He's more interested in clearly in being a national candidate. His politics have evolved too, and it's not making everybody happy. So you have the incident with the bridge, and you have it was a huge deal, and then Christie came out and delivered this epic press conference rebuttal to it, which in itself was a huge deal. And he seems to have, for the moment, kept himself afloat. Of course, all of this hinders on whether or not there will be more information coming out. I think we'll know soon whether the New Jersey papers are going to dig anything more up on him. But I think there may be another shoe to drop further down the road, and not immediately. And that's because, as you know, there's a federal investigation. And if they want to prosecute someone, there could be a plea bargain down the road that yields unflattering information about Chris Christie.
Right, whether it's true or not, right? I mean, they could get.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got the Port Authority director, then you have his top aide. These two people have been under the microscope now for their involvement. They could end up being threatened with jail time over this.
Yeah.
So if federal investigators are on it, then they're in trouble. And you can bet that in blue state New Jersey, there's going to be an effort to try to ferret out information that hurts Christie, because let's face it, he is the top threat to their hypothetical candidate of choice, Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, well,
I think to get rid of him, then who do they have? Rand Paul? They laugh at that idea, right? Hillary she could be him.
Yeah, well, so, Hillary's going to have a lot. The Gates book, that didn't make it that much easier for Hillary either, although I'm sure they'll try to weasel around that. We're talking to Susan Ferrechio, Chief Congressional Correspondent at the Washington Examiner. Let's talk about John Boehner and the Republicans in the House and immigration. All I keep hearing is immigration. They're working on it. They're going to get it done in 2014. Schumer's been saying that for a year, but he seems more confident than ever that the House is going to do something. And you wrote a piece yesterday about how, first of all, a group of Republicans in the House charged that Obama's immigration reform would hurt U.S. workers. And then today you wrote that this new immigration, this revived immigration push in the House will focus mainly on boosting security and increasing foreign workers. So explain who's looking at this and what it is.
Right. So, the Speaker isn't going to talk specifically about it. We keep asking him for specifics. He's basically telling us we're going to release some standards and principles. But he has said that he's consulting with and working with the House Judiciary Committee on this. And he made a suggestion yesterday that the principles and standards they plan to unveil, perhaps by the end of this month, will be based on the work the House Judiciary Committee has already done. This panel has passed 4 bills, and I described them in my story. 2 of them involve bringing in foreign workers through a created guest worker program. These would be agricultural workers who would come to pick crops and help on farms. And then another group of individuals who are science, technology, engineering, and math skilled people who would get visas and green cards in much greater numbers. So you'd be importing a lot more for the workforce than we've got right now under the current visa and green card programs. Now, those are 2 major elements of it. Now, there's a border security element, too, E-Verify, which I know everyone has heard that word before. It would require employers to check electronically whether or not a prospective employee is legal, so that we can stop hiring folks who are not here illegally and thus attract more illegal immigration. And the second part of that is some additional border security and allowing state and local governments the power to enforce federal immigration laws rather than having to rely on the federal government for it, so that the enforcement is a lot more controlled and effective. So there's a 4-pronged approach there that they've completed, and I believe when the Speaker talks about what their principles and standards are going to be, we're going to hear a lot of that. And I think that's going to be included in it.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
And what I was going to say was, what I don't understand a lot of things about Boehner and all that, but I don't understand what Republicans are thinking, what anybody thinks, but especially Republicans, more high-skilled workers, more low-skilled workers. When there are no jobs. There are no jobs now. We just had the job report at 70-something thousand when they told us 2 days ago it was going to be 250,000. It's just, to me, it's insanity. Bringing more people into the country specifically to take low and high skilled jobs. Well, there's not enough Americans working. I mean, I don't get that.
Yeah, and to buttress your argument, my colleague Byron York wrote a great column the other day about laying bare the fact that the companies that want to import workers are laying people off. Merck, big pharmaceutical giant, laying off thousands of workers. Yet they're behind the push to bring in more foreign workers.
And for what reason? For what reason? So they could pay them less?
Exactly.
Well, that's.
I often tell people that I believe the immigration reform bill is a wage bill. It's about wages. The argument by people who oppose a comprehensive bill is this: is that really here the push by the Chamber of Commerce and Republicans who are aligned with big business is that if they can just shave a little bit off what they pay people, they will profit handsomely from that, and then that would help companies because they'd be able to eventually pay people less because there would be, let's face it, the highest paying jobs in this country are the STEM jobs, the engineers, and the people in math and technology and the sciences, because there are so few of those workers. So if we bring in more of them, then you don't have to pay them as much. For example, one of the people I've seen wandering around Capitol Hill lately is the founder of Facebook, one of the richest young people in the United States. I see him hanging out with senators in the hallways. He's pushing Mr. Zuckerberg for immigration reform because people suspect, it's part of the technology industry's hope that they can get the wages down. Now, that's one side of the argument. The other side of this is that, no, that's not the case, that there simply aren't enough of those workers, and they need them to keep the field staffed. And that's why we want to bring in more people through visas. We're losing a lot of our talent. They're coming here, they're getting educated here, then they're taking their talent and their innovation, and they're leaving. Let's keep them here. Let's build it in America. So there's two sides to this argument, and they're going to do battle this year, I think, if this comes to the floor in the form of legislation. And we're not even getting into legalizing illegal immigrants. That's not even come up yet. We're just talking about bringing in people through the visa and green cards and guest worker programs. We're not talking legalization. That's another big issue that's going to come up, I think, this year if they try to put legislation on the floor.
It is such a disaster, and I could picture it. I could picture Boehner, and tell me if you think this is a fair scenario. To the objectors on the right, the conservative groups, the Tea Party members, the anti or should I say, whatever, anti-immigration reform groups, he'll say, like I said, about the shutdown, you're not going to. I mean, I think he's gonna yell at them again, right?
Well, I don't know. I think that they may have a difficult time moving these bills. I don't know. I tried to take the temperature and see how much appetite there is for this. And I suspect if he wants to do it, it's going to be something that's going to involve Democratic help with passage. That is possible if he tries to do it this year. Or Boehner could just be saying, hey, I'm putting the principles and standards out here. I'm going to listen to what everyone has to say about it. And if I don't feel the majority of the conference supports it, I'm not going to put it on the floor. And that's going to be the end of that. And at least he can say he tried. He can appease the Chamber of Commerce, which is pushing this thing madly. I know we all know. And he can say, look, I don't have the support in my conference to do this right now. I'm not ruling out that scenario either. I generally think that he is not entirely sure what he's going to do on this. But the fact that they're moving forward tells me that they're going to at least try. That doesn't mean we'll see a bill. That doesn't mean we'll see anything passed. But they're taking some baby steps here, and I know from my history in Congress, baby steps can lead to a sprint pretty quickly.
Right.
So we're going to have to really keep our eye on it, and the outcome is really murky at this point.
Well, we will. Next week when we talk, I want to talk about the fight between the Democrats' attempt and Obama's attempt to change the whole focus to wages and to not wages, but minimum wage, and of course his other income inequality and all that, and unemployment extension, benefit extension, as opposed to health care. So we'll talk about who's winning that battle. Right now, I haven't heard the word health care in about 3 weeks. Anyway,
that's a great topic.
Appreciate it, Susan. We'll speak to you next week. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Bye-bye. Susan Ferrechio, ladies and gentlemen, Chief Congressional Correspondent at the Washington Examiner. When we come back, we are going to be joined by, Congressman Tim Griffin. Congressman Tim Griffin from Arkansas, who's waiting on the president. President said to Republicans, I'll meet with you. You got ideas on Obama, on Affordable Care Act, health care? I'll meet with anybody. Well, he's still waiting. He wants to meet with the president. And he hasn't gotten that invitation yet, although he's trying. All that coming up on the Steve Malzberg Show. And Lou Dobbs later. Newsmax TV and radio.